Many believe that speaking more demonstrates intelligence, confidence, and authority. However, the individuals who exert the greatest influence are often those who choose their words carefully. In every conversation, there are those who speak impulsively and those who observe, process, and respond with intention. The latter always hold the advantage. This book is not about remaining silent, but about developing the discipline to speak with purpose. Too often, people engage in conversations reactively, filling space with words rather than using silence strategically. They overlook valuable details, make themselves predictable, and lose control over discussions that could shape their personal and professional success. Gaining a deeper understanding of people and situations begins with refining one's ability to listen, observe, and analyze before responding. Communication extends beyond words. Tone, body language, and subtle pauses often reveal more than what is explicitly stated. Those who train themselves to recognize these details develop a level of awareness that enables them to navigate conversations with greater clarity and precision. This book presents a practical framework for mastering this skill. It explores how to command attention without demanding it, earn respect without seeking validation, and influence discussions without dominating them. By implementing these principles, readers will learn how to collect more information than they reveal, make sounder decisions, and cultivate a presence that naturally commands authority. Every interaction offers an opportunity to gain insight, yet most people diminish their impact by speaking too much and listening too little. The strategies outlined in this book will help reverse that pattern. By the end, readers will have the tools to enhance their ability to communicate effectively, understand others more deeply, and project a quiet confidence that speaks louder than words. Whether in leadership, negotiations, or personal relationships, the ability to listen, think, and respond with intention is a skill that sets the truly influential apart. Chapter 1. How to Speak Less and Influence More. In a world that constantly demands our attention, it's easy to assume that the key to success, influence, and respect lies in speaking as much as possible. We're taught to fill the silence, to dominate conversations, to ensure that our voices are heard. But here's the twist: the most powerful people aren't always the loudest. In fact, the people who speak the least often influence the most. Think about it. How many times have you walked into a room where one person's mere presence was enough to grab everyone's attention, without them even uttering a word? This kind of influence comes from the art of restraint, from choosing to speak only when it truly matters. When we talk less, we free ourselves up to listen more, to absorb the world around us, to understand others better, and ultimately to influence in a way that feels natural and powerful. The truth is, the less you say, the more others are likely to listen. True influence isn't about dominating a conversation, it's about knowing when to speak, and perhaps even more importantly, knowing when to remain silent. In moments of silence, you create space for reflection, space for deeper understanding, and space for others to contribute. The person who fills the silence with their own voice might be heard, but the person who allows the silence to linger, then speaks with purpose, commands attention. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking that their words will always carry weight, simply because they speak often. But words lose their value when they're used too freely. On the other hand, when we speak less, when we choose our words carefully, when we make sure every word counts, we build a reputation for having something important to say. People will begin to listen to you because they know your words have meaning. Every sentence you utter will be a reflection of your thoughtfulness, your ability to understand, and your capacity to see things others might miss. When you talk less, you give yourself the chance to listen. And in listening, you gain an incredible amount of information. You begin to understand people on a deeper level, You catch the nuances in their words, the small hesitations, the body language that speaks louder than any sentence ever could. You gain insights into their emotions, their struggles, their desires, things they may not even realize they're revealing. As you listen more, you become more attuned to the unspoken truths in a room. The ability to observe without rushing to respond gives you an edge, both in conversations and in life. In negotiations, for example, silence can be one of your greatest allies. The natural instinct when faced with tension or an awkward pause is to rush in with words. But this often works against us. Silence, on the other hand, creates pressure, and with that pressure comes the opportunity to learn more. When you stay quiet and wait, others often feel compelled to speak more, to fill the silence with their own thoughts. In those moments, they may reveal something valuable, something they hadn't planned on saying. By simply holding back and letting others speak, you can gain crucial information that might help you make better decisions. The power of listening goes beyond just gathering information. It's also about showing respect. People appreciate being heard. They feel validated when you take the time to truly understand what they're saying. This fosters trust, and trust is the foundation of influence. When people trust you, they are more likely to listen to you when you do speak. It's a cycle. You listen, you build trust, and because they trust you, they will value your words more when you choose to share them. Every conversation is an opportunity to deepen your understanding of the world around you. The more you listen, the more you learn. You'll start to notice patterns in people's behavior, subtle shifts in their emotions, and even their unspoken needs. You'll find that you're able to relate to people in a way you never thought possible. This kind of understanding opens doors for you, doors to better relationships, more successful business dealings, and deeper personal connections. But it's not just about listening. It's about listening with intent, with purpose. This is where the true power of speaking less comes into play. When you listen intently, you not only learn more about the person speaking, but you also give yourself the chance to think. Thinking before you speak allows you to respond thoughtfully and carefully, rather than reacting impulsively. It gives you time to process what's being said, to weigh the implications, and to choose the most appropriate response. In doing so, you become someone who speaks with purpose, a person who isn't afraid of silence because you understand the power it holds. And this is where you gain your influence. When you've spent more time listening and thinking, when you've observed the world around you more closely, your words take on a new kind of weight. They come from a place of understanding, not just knowledge, and people respect that. They respect someone who speaks only when it's necessary, who doesn't waste words, who carefully considers the impact of what they say before they say it. There's a certain kind of wisdom that comes from speaking less. The more you learn to hold back, the more you come to realize that not everything needs to be said. The pressure to fill every silence, to make your voice heard, begins to fade, and in its place, a quiet confidence emerges. You begin to understand that your influence doesn't come from talking the most, but from talking the least, and talking with purpose. This wisdom doesn't come overnight. It requires practice, patience, and a commitment to change. But the results are worth it. When you speak less, you open up the space for others to contribute. You make room for meaningful conversations that foster connection, trust, and respect. You show that you value others' input, that you understand their perspective, and that you're not just waiting for your turn to speak, but actively engaging in the exchange of ideas. The power of speaking less isn't about being silent for the sake of silence. It's about being intentional with your words. Choosing to speak only when you have something valuable to contribute. When you embrace this approach, you'll find that you not only influence others more, but you also improve your own life. You begin to see the world more clearly, to understand people on a deeper level, and to communicate with more impact. As you start practicing this discipline of speaking less, you'll notice a shift in the way people respond to you. They'll start listening more closely when you do speak. They'll respect your thoughts and opinions more, and they'll come to trust you in ways they didn't before. The more you embrace the art of restraint, the more you'll realize that influence isn't something you have to fight for. It's something that naturally comes to you when you learn to speak less and understand more. Chapter 2. The Observer's Mind. How to See What Others Miss. In a world full of noise and distractions, it's easy to forget how much we can learn by simply paying attention to what's going on around us. Every day we're surrounded by messages, body language, and subtle cues that tell us more than words ever could. If we can train ourselves to observe, we start to see the world through a different lens, one that reveals insights and opportunities that others might miss. Observation isn't just about watching people, it's about understanding them. It's about noticing the small details that reveal what someone might be thinking or feeling, even when they're not saying anything at all. It's the shift from being a passive bystander in conversations to being an active participant, someone who is fully aware of what's happening in the moment. When we stop focusing on what we're going to say next and start paying attention to what's happening around us, we tap into a well of knowledge that can guide us through any situation. Often we're so caught up in our own thoughts, in our own agendas, that we forget to look at the bigger picture. We miss the subtle shifts in body language, the hesitation in someone's voice, or the way their eyes light up when they talk about something they care about. These are the things that reveal who a person really is, what they truly think, and what motivates them. By training ourselves to observe these small moments, we start to develop a deeper understanding of the people around us, and more importantly, of ourselves. The key to mastering the observer's mind is to embrace curiosity. Instead of seeing the world through the lens of our own needs and desires, we begin to look at it from the perspective of others. When we approach people, conversations and situations with genuine curiosity, we open ourselves up to new perspectives. We stop assuming that we know everything, and instead we begin to ask questions, to listen more deeply, and to truly see what's going on beneath the surface. This is especially powerful in conversations. So often we enter conversations with a predetermined idea of what we want to say or what we want to get out of it. But when we shift our focus from speaking to observing, we allow the conversation to unfold naturally. We become more present in the moment, more attuned to the other person's emotions, thoughts, and needs. This not only makes us better listeners, but it also makes us better communicators. We can respond more thoughtfully, more empathetically, and with a deeper understanding of what's really being said. Sometimes we don't even realize how much information is available to us simply by observing. Think about the last time you had a conversation with someone and noticed their body language. Maybe their arms were crossed, their eyes were darting around the room, or they seemed a little distracted. These small signs speak volumes about what someone is thinking or feeling, even though they might not be saying anything. When you learn to read these cues, you gain a much clearer understanding of the other person's perspective. You can then adjust your responses accordingly, creating a more meaningful and productive exchange. Being an observer doesn't mean sitting back and doing nothing. It means being actively engaged in the moment, noticing the things that others might overlook, and using that information to inform your actions and decisions. It means practicing mindfulness, focusing on the present, and letting go of distractions. By doing so, you begin to develop a deeper awareness of the world around you, which can help you navigate even the most challenging situations with confidence and clarity. One of the greatest benefits of cultivating the observer's mind is the ability to anticipate what will happen next. When we observe people carefully, we begin to notice patterns in their behavior. We start to recognize how they react to certain situations, what triggers their emotions, and what motivates their decisions. This insight allows us to anticipate their needs and responses, giving us a strategic advantage in both personal and professional situations. Imagine walking into a room where a conversation is already underway. Most people would immediately jump in, eager to contribute their own thoughts. But if you take a moment to observe, you'll start to notice the dynamics at play. Who's speaking the most? Who seems to be holding back? What is the tone of the conversation? By taking